Jillian Leckie is a true entertainer with over 5 years of hands-on experience. As she has been very loyal to TUI SUNEO, she has seen the concept grow, evolve, and even sprinkled some of her creative personality over it by working on the reformation of the concept. She's a people person, a singer, and a dancer with a heart in the right place.
Never compare yourself to anybody else, because every entertainer is going to do the job a little bit differently, and everyone's going to have a little bit of personality or a little bit of flair that some guests are going to like, but not all guests are going to like you. It just doesn't happen like that. So
I'm Dario de Dobbelare, and welcome to Ciao Ciao Bye Bye, a show about living life abroad in the hotel entertainment sector. Here, we dive deep into what it is like living all over Europe, meeting thousands of people, pushing boundaries, and living life to the fullest. Today, episode 3, The Journey. My guest today is coming all the way from sunny Scotland, Jillian Leckie. So, Jillian, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming today. It's been a while.
Thank you for having me.
Please introduce yourself. Who are you and where do you come from?
Oh, okay. Well, hello. My name's Jillian. I am from the very tropical continents of sunny Scotland, and I was working for Suneo for, how long? 5 years? A while. But
yeah, I think you started in 2014, yes. Right? Working for Suneo?
2014, 2015, yeah. Yeah, 2015 was my first season, which was a while ago.
I think we met each other on training in 2015 in Belgium, am I right?
Pretty sure. It was in that big hotel. And
yeah, I think it was in Belgium, right?
It was in Belgium, yeah. Really big hotel. I'd had a very traumatic trip there.
How come? Tell me about it.
Well, so the way that it was organised that year, they basically got all of the UK entertainers to travel together. So all of us had to meet in London, and then all of us got up stupid o'clock the next morning and had to get the Eurostar from London.
Oh, so it was a 2-day travel.
2-day trip. So I had to get the train down from Scotland. So that was 5 hours on the train, then overnight stay in London. And then we all got up and got on the Eurostar the next day. We got off in France, and then we got picked up by 2 minibuses that had been organised for us.
I remember you guys arriving in the minibuses.
Oh, it was grim. We were all so tired. We got there, and one of the girls who used to work for Suneo, I don't think she'll mind me mentioning her name, Claire, she'd fallen asleep in the car, as most of us had, because we were all very tired. And she got out the car, we got into the hotel, and then we suddenly realised that she didn't have her phone. She didn't have her purse.
No.
She'd left all of it in the car, and the car had gone. We had to try and get the car back so she could get her stuff. I think she'd done a swap with the taxi driver, picked up the wrong phone or something. I can't remember, but that was my introduction to Suneo Club. She'd done a season already. I thought she was she knew what she was doing.
Yeah, she was organized, exactly.
Yeah, and then she lost her phone, and I was like, oh, great, here we go. So that was the entrance into TUI and Suneo for me, and it all went from there.
Yeah, and then you started your journey as an entertainer in the entertainment industry. What did you do before you started working in the entertainment sector?
Oh, well, I basically went straight into entertainment. So I studied musical theatre at college, graduated in 2013, and then started doing touring children's theatre. And I did that from the end of 2013 until the beginning of 2014. So I think it was 4 or 5 months.
This was back in the UK, in Scotland?
All over the UK. So Scotland and England mostly, but we could also go to Wales and Ireland. It depended on what route you were on. So there was 20 casts, and we all got split up across the country, and you just moved around, and the company would just sort of tell you, okay, get in the van, you're going to Aberdeen.
Oh, that's quite exciting, actually.
And you'd stay in Aberdeen for a week, and so did that. And then summer of 2014, I did my first abroad season, but with a different company. So I was working in conjunction with TUI, but not for TUI.
Okay, which company was this?
It was a small company called TMC Fun in the Sun. They were based in Cyprus when I first worked for them. So yeah, it was interesting because now having worked for a small agency and a really huge agency like TUI, you can see some comparisons, but you can also see how different they are because everything's handled like the same but different, if that makes sense. So that was
Can you give an example maybe?
Oh, let me think. Same but different. So obviously with that agency, they were very focused just on the entertainment side of things. So that was quite good because then you weren't having to deal with like any of the other stuff. We didn't really deal with the reps. We didn't really have to do much with complaints from guests. So that was nice because you were in and you were really focused on the job and just the entertainment. And the hours were a lot longer because obviously our hours changed a lot over our time working with Suneo. So when I first started, I was doing 12 hours a day, 6 days a week for this company, and it was crazy. So when I left, it was like, 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, what luxury. So that was like one of the comparisons was like, you could see how TUI had to handle so much more than this other company, but because they were smaller,
they maybe could get away with some things.
Like you felt like you were getting watched a lot of the time, especially where my hotel was, because the company managers lived like 20 minutes away, so they were in my hotel all the time.
Yeah, obviously, because they were also in Cyprus, just as you, right?
Yeah, so it's not like with TUI where, Gogo and Dimitri will rock up maybe twice in a year with them if you're lucky. Like with these guys, with the other company, they were in there like every week, and things got changed and fixed, and they moved people. There was a lot of stuff that went on with that company. So I had an amazing season, really, really good time.
Yeah, obviously.
And that hotel is now a TUI hotel. So I'm taking that's a thing.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
I know. But yeah, so it was really good. And that sort of started me on the ball rolling of knowing I wanted to do it again, but I knew I wanted to work for a bigger company. Just because I felt like it would be a bit more secure.
You were getting close. You were like searching in the right region.
Yes, definitely. I'd dipped my toes in. I was like, I'm nearly there. So it was a start.
Yeah, and then you started your journey. You started working for Suneo. So you switched companies to TUI. And how many seasons did you do as an entertainer before you became a team leader?
Just the one, actually.
Oh.
One season as an entertainer. I did, yeah. I climbed the ranks very quickly. But there was a lot less people back then, so I felt like there was a lot less competition almost.
It's very like the early days of Suneo. I think when you started in 2015, so it was the second season the concept existed, and I believe it was the first international entertainment concept ever for TUI. This I'm sure about, but I'm not sure if there were other companies providing a similar concept. I'm not sure, actually. I'm pretty sure they were one of the first ones to start with this idea. So yeah, the pool size of people was quite small. There was more like trial and error for the first few years.
It really was. And like when I got the job, like sort of just as not just as an entertainer, but as an entertainer, like the audition process, it was almost like the people who were running the audition didn't really know what Suneo was, because I don't think anyone really knew what Suneo was because it was still so new. I remember turning up and there was a few of our like little core group that were there, or people that you would probably know, like do you remember Josie? Josie was at my audition, I think.
I remember.
And Charlie and I started the same year, but I can't remember if we were at the same audition or not. But there was a small handful of us.
Yeah.
And we'd been told that we were all auditioning for, at the time, was the Thompson Family Resorts.
Yeah.
So this was old school, like TUI Blue, TUI Family Life.
Exactly.
And it was also TUI Gold as well, or Thompson Gold at the time.
Yeah,
so
which
we rocked up.
Still exists, I believe.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So we all rocked up to this audition at an airport. Very bizarrely.
So, your job interview was at the airport.
At the airport, yeah, East Midlands Airport in the.
That's quite
TUI
exciting, actually.
hangar.
You get I think it's
cool.
nicer than to apply at the actual airport than in like a TUI office. I think it gives you like this this extra sprinkle they put on it.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah, it was quite cool, but it was a very bizarre situation. It was one of those winters where we got snow, and the UK can't handle snow. So I'd actually been on another job at the time, and I booked this audition just as I was starting this new job. And I had to get a taxi through the snow to this audition. And because my taxi driver was so stressed about the snow, I arrived at this audition over an hour early. I was sitting in this little room all on my own,
like
waiting for all the other people.
An hour to stress out completely before your audition.
It makes you feel so good. Yeah, so that was great. So yeah, we did all of that. And I remember going through the audition, they did a cut at lunchtime. So they sent some people home and they kept a group of us. And then we had to do more after lunch. And then they split us into like 4 groups. And like each of the interviewers went off with one of the groups. And there was a small handful of us that got taken off for this Suneo concept. And they didn't really know what to say to us about it because we'd received an email before that had been like, oh, yes, we've got this new concept. But the way they'd worded the email, they were just like, yeah, new hotel concept. If you want to continue your application, you can. I was like, are you trying to tell me I shouldn't be continuing my application? I don't know. But yeah, a wee handful of us got taken off to this Suneo concept. And next thing you know, we were doing a 2-day trek to Belgium, and here we are.
Losing phones, exactly.
Oh, yeah. It was an experience, but it was so much fun. Like, that was the start of the journey, basically.
Yeah, of everything, basically.
Yeah, really was.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, which destinations have you been working on? So you started your first season in Cyprus for this other company, and then when you started Suneo, where did you go from then?
So my first season with Suneo was on Corfu, which is a hotel that we no longer have. So that's a little extinct Suneo club, that one. Then the little relic of a hotel. Then I did a season on Zakynthos in a new resort there. I then went off and did Lanzarote for the summer, then Mallorca the next summer. Then I went back to Lanzarote for the winter, and then back to Zakynthos to the same hotel for my final summer season. So I basically went round in a bit of a circle.
Is it like a true final summer, or is it like to be continued final summer?
We'll see what happens with this situation. Who knows? Like, to be honest,
obviously,
I would probably never say never. If it's the only job that I can get my hands on, I would probably very happily go back. But you never know. It's a mystery.
but you are looking for different opportunities at the moment.
Yeah,
okay.
Like still within the entertainment industry, definitely. Like, this is, I think, having done all those seasons, it's made me realize that that's what I enjoy doing. I don't know how much longer I'll do it for, but we'll see.
What is it that you liked? What is it that you like so much about the entertainment life?
Oh, the people. I'm such a people person. I love getting to know new people and getting to know new cultures. Like, I've been quite lucky. We did a fair amount of traveling as a family when I was younger.
All right.
But we never really, we tried to sort of touch on the culture side of things and stuff, but it's different when you're living in it, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it's not this, like when you do a 2-week holiday, you get a little bit of, I'll have some tapas while I'm in Spain, but you're not living like the Spanish lifestyle.
You don't get
really,
the full experience. You get a little taste of what life is like there, but to actually live there and be amongst those people, it truly makes you feel part of their community, or just, I don't know. It does provide you with a different perspective on life abroad.
It really
That's very
does.
true.
Yeah. Yeah, and you see things completely differently, because when you go there on holiday, you just sort of, you get a bit of a glimpse at it. You know, you're staying in your fancy hotel with the fancy food, and you're going off and doing all the fun things. But when you're living there, you're living the real life. Like you like, the electricity is not the same as it is back home. Your water isn't the same as it is back home.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Wi-Fi? What's Wi-Fi? Like, it's completely different. You have to adapt, and that was really interesting because it makes you realize how lucky you are, and
Oh, yes.
like, you shouldn't be taking anything for granted, because you have to work so hard to get anything done. Like,
exactly.
It's,
to give an example,
yeah,
I
it
remember
pushes you.
I was working in Crete last summer, and they provided us with completely new accommodations in the hotel. They built this new building with rooms for the guests, and then at the bottom they also provided new accommodations for staff, so we could live there. So we were like, oh my God, we're going to be living in these new buildings, because usually we don't get the nicest accommodations. I mean, not that they're awful or anything, but it's not like you usually
Not
never
a
get
palace.
like, exactly. It's nothing like a hotel room usually. And I remember when we moved in there, I think we had to wait like 3 weeks before we had our curtains. And we had like a shared balcony, so whenever one of us would be on the balcony, we could look into each other's rooms and like see each other laying in bed. So it was we had to make like these rules that we didn't cross certain parts of the balcony, just to give each other just a little bit of privacy, because I mean, you do need your privacy. So we had to fight for 3 weeks to get the curtains, and when you finally get them, you're like, oh my God, I love these curtains. I mean, they're one of the ugliest curtains I've ever seen in my life, but I was just happy to have curtains. Even like at the bottom, you could still watch under them if you wanted to, because they didn't reach all the way down. But they did the job.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I had a similar situation last summer, actually, when I was on Zakynthos. They don't have enough rooms for all the entertainers in the same building, which is a problem they've had since I was there the first time. So that's 3 years, 4 years. Not much of a change. So 2 of us got put in these old buildings that I'd been in before. I knew that they were falling apart and they were a bit dodgy, but you know, they were livable. And the room I got put in also did not have curtains, and it looked out onto the hotel. So I was like, if I'm walking around in my room, people can see me as they walk to the restaurant. Like, this looks a bit weird. So I had like to hang up my scarves and stuff over because there was a rail, but no curtains. So I had scarves and my suitcases pushed up against the window. I was like, nobody will see it. It was absolute chaos.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a regular occurring thing. No curtains for staff.
No curtains for the entertainers. They don't get curtains.
Only stage curtains. We only get stage curtains.
We got plenty of them. Yeah, the stage curtains. When I worked in Mallorca, we had 2 stages that we had to decorate. And if you work in the big hotel in Mallorca, Santa Ponza, you also have the Italian team. So I had my 4 Italians and then my 6 Suneo Club entertainers, including myself. 10. So 10 of us. Big team, lots of stuff that you had to do. And me and the Italian team leader decided it would be a really good idea that if we did one hotel where we just left the stage alone all summer, we put up the backdrop and we left it like that. Yeah. But the other stage, we were going to change the curtains every week. We decided that was a really good idea at the time. Which is, you know, it's good for the guests to see that the stage is changing, and it depended on the show, because we kind of put the Italians' team show down in that hotel. Like, they did their production shows there, we did our production shows in the other hotel, and that was just the way it worked. But that meant that we had to spend every Monday afternoon taking down the curtains and putting up the new curtains, and it was just the biggest faff, because they wouldn't have the air conditioning on while we were in there, and there's 3 of us,
and
all
it's
trying
very
to hold up
hot
these curtains
in high season, especially. It's like, what do you have in Mallorca? 37 degrees, something like this.
Something
38.
like it gets really hot. It was just awful. You know, you're standing in there in your like Suneo uniform, just sweating, like trying to use these like what are they called, staple guns, trying to get that into the wall. And we used to end up chasing each other around with the staple guns because we would just like go a bit mad. The Italian team leader would be shooting them at your ankles. It was like absolute bonkers.
I'm not sure if he was following the safety, health and safety guidelines.
I'm not entirely certain he was either, but it got to that point that you were just going, like, you reach that point in the season where you all just go a little bit mad.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. So stupid things like that happen, which could probably have led to injury, but we were all fine. So I was like, I just won't tell the managers if you don't. We'll clean up the mess. It was chaos.
Yeah. So you've been to all these different places, and you've been to Zakynthos twice. Was this like a personal choice?
It just kind of happened, actually. So I don't like Zakynthos. I really enjoyed the first time round. The hotel was very hard work, but I like a challenge.
Because it was a new unit, right?
Yeah, brand new hotel when I got there. They didn't really know what to do with the entertainment team, and they put the stage in a really weird space. So it was really hard work for us to get.
When they design these hotels, it's like one of the last things they try to figure out how they're going to deal with the entertainment.
Yeah, it's like, where are we going to put them? Like, what are we going to do with them? They finish everything, and then we're like the last thing to get like with afterthought. But they were really happy with us being there, and like it was a really good season. It was just difficult to like get people to come and see us, and it was a really tiny pool, and we had some very interesting neighbours. But I did that season and was like, I've got stories about this next door neighbour. So
I'm ready for them.
Excellent. Here we go. So brace yourself. So our stage, to like put it into context, was at the back of the hotel. So the hotel was split into units, 5 of them in total.
Yeah.
And our stage was like next to block 5, which was right at the very, very back. They put a grass field between the stage and the restaurant. The bar was on the other side of the restaurant. So you had to like go from the bar round the restaurant building, up a field, and then to the stage. So it was like a 2-3 minute walk. It's not far, but you know, when guests are on holiday, 3 minutes is a long time. After a while of, you know, arguing, of trying to get people up to the stage and it not working, we came to a agreement with the hotel that we would be allowed to do our entertainment next to the swimming pool, which was next to the outdoor seating area of the restaurant.
Oh, that's nice.
So everybody would be able to see us and they could access the bar, and it just made a lot more sense. However, this then put us right next to the swimming pool, which was right next door to this neighbour, who I don't know whether he was there first or the hotel was there first, but the entertainment definitely came like after both of those. So he wasn't used to all of this noise that we were creating, because we're quite a noisy bunch of people. So during the daytime, he was very anti-water polo. He was very anti-aqua gym. But we managed to, like, you know, fight to keep it in, because we're like, guests love it. It has to stay. It's getting your scores up.
It's one of the most popular activities.
Exactly. And with that hotel being so tiny, we weren't getting many people anyway. So we were going, you know, we need to get the people that we can. So give us a chance here. So that ended on a sort of relatively fair term. But this evening entertainment caused a lot of issues. So one evening, I remember specifically, it was me and one of my German colleagues in, because we had only 3 entertainers in that hotel. Very, very small team. So it was just the 2 of us in that night, and I was hosting and Ruben was doing the music. We were doing a music quiz.
Okay.
And the people at the back of the seating area were saying, you know, we can't hear you. So we were like turning the speaker around, trying to like get it facing them as best we could and all of this. And we were about halfway through this quiz. And the phone goes in the bar, and the bar lady's like waving at me, just going, Jillian, stop. And I was like, I can't. I'm like, I've got 20 minutes left. Leave me alone.
You're in the middle of the show,
Exactly. I'm like, right, I'm just going to keep on going. So I'm going. And then a car alarm starts going off. like in the driveway of this next door neighbor. And I was like, he's trying to like drown us out, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like he's trying to like tell us to shut up. So I went, well, I'm not having any of that. So I just turned the music up louder. Probably shouldn't have done that, but I was like, tough, I've got 15 minutes left, like 20 minutes, leave me be. So we keep on going. And then the receptionist comes storming up the side of the pool. And she's like, Jillian, you have to turn it off. You have to stop. He's phoning the police. And I was like, what are the police going to do about it? Like, this is ridiculous. So I sort of said, look, I've got however many questions left. Just let me finish and then I will turn it off. Like, I promise I will turn it off. The police never came, as far as I know. However, the next morning, I very quickly got dragged into the hotel manager's office. And she was like, we need to do something about this. I know. We do.
Yeah.
So eventually
what ended up happening?
We were allowed to continue doing the entertainment next to the pool, but the next door neighbour put a volume limit on us. Yeah. And they would test the volume of our music. Like they would come up every now and again just to make sure we were sticking to it, which is fair. And we had to have the music off by like 10:30.
Ooh,
so it was
that's quite early.
Very early, which meant we had to push PR so hard. Like our PRing was until midnight sitting in the restaurant with guests because we couldn't have music on. Yeah. But the bar were allowed music on. So we would turn our stuff off and then the bar would put theirs on. So it wasn't so bad, but it was like our entertainment started at like 7:30, 7:45 and finished at 10:30. So it wasn't long to get everything in. You had to be quick. No breaks. Go, go, go.
Now, when you look back at the at your seasons, is there one particular thing you're missing right now? Because you've been at home for quite some time, so you've had some time to really let it sink in that you're no longer in a nice destination working with so many people.
Don't. I miss my suntan.
What then?
Oh. How dare you? I was brown for a redhead person. What do I miss? I miss just the fun, I think. Like, it's nice to be home, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like I'm getting to see many of my friends right now, really. And I'm staying with my parents right now because, like, I haven't got anywhere else to stay. So, like, it's nice to be with people at home because I haven't been home much. But I think I just miss, like, can I say all of it? Is that allowed?
Maybe it's like you're too comfortable at home. This is something I find myself in right now. It's like it's too comfortable. It's like almost everything seems right, and we're kind of used to this problem-solving instinct of ours. That there's always something wrong or always something we can improve. Like you said, small things like the Wi-Fi, the curtains, it can be a shower curtain. Maybe you don't have a shower curtain. Things like this. Yeah,
it's very true. It is, like, you're totally right. Just having that constant, like, if it's not a physical thing you're having to sort, it's a team issue, or someone's not got your email and suddenly something else has gone wrong, or there's like a problem with the guests that you're having to deal with. Like, there was always, I don't think there was ever a day that you went into work and everything just went smoothly. There was always
no perfect day.
Tiny little thing. I think that's what it was. Like, maybe that's what I miss most. It's just going in and never knowing what's going to happen. Like, always being slightly on the edge of your seat, that you're like, right, what's going to challenge me today? Is it going to be a child goes missing and we have to spend 20 minutes finding a child? Is it going to be my lighting system breaks 10 minutes before I go on stage? Like, what's it going to be? And you always had to find a solution, because as a team leader, your team's always looking to you for the answers, which can be scary when you don't know the answer and you're just making it up to make them feel better.
You just pretend you know all about it. Oh, yeah, of course, this problem. I've had many of these before. Let me fix that right for you.
Yeah, send them away, and then you're going, oh my goodness, what do I do? Help! Phoning around the other team leaders going, what did you do when this happened? Has anyone had this problem?
Oh my god, that's so true. That's so true. So when you look back, is there any like key moment during one of your seasons where you're like, this changed my perspective, or this was like an enriching moment? Because many of us come across these rare experiences you wouldn't come across otherwise, and it's like I'm not quite sure what the term is in English, but it's like an mind opening experience.
Eye-opening experience, yeah.
Eye-opening, maybe.
Yes, yeah. Mind-opening. We'll go with that too.
Yeah.
That's good. Oh gosh, I feel like there's been a few, I think, like small things on one hand, like, you know, seeing how much you can influence someone's holiday. And that can really make a big difference to you. Because I don't know about how you felt when you were doing the job, but I always felt like I was never really doing anything special. I know that sounds a bit silly, but I just felt like I was doing my job. Like even, you know, 1 season, 2 seasons in, I didn't feel like I was ever, you know, going a million miles for anyone. They were like, oh, can you help us do this? I went, yes, of course. And you just did it. So seeing how you could influence people's holidays was always one for me. Like if there was ever something that you did, I can't even pick any out. I'm just trying to feel like there was so many, like families that would come back and see you more than once. You were like, oh, I must have done something.
That's very strange, right? Especially the first time it happens to you, you're like, really?
Yeah.
You feel kind of flattered. It's like, really? You're gonna come back?
Yeah, like it was really. I had a couple actually. One of them was a complete accident. So it was a family that I'd met in Lanzarote for the first time, and they had 2 kids. And this little girl, she followed me everywhere. She was obsessed with me. I could never really work out why, but she was just always like on me, like at my side, on my hand, wherever. She was always just around. And then the next summer, I went to Mallorca, and like, as I said, it's a really big hotel. So you're going, what are the chances of me seeing people? Like, there's technically 3 hotels I'm covering here. So I literally just walked out to go around the pool to do the morning announcement or something. And she was just there, like, just standing next to me. And I was like, what? Like, where did you come from? What's going on? And next thing I know, her mum's going, oh my goodness, she said it was you. She saw you yesterday. I was like, oh my goodness.
So
like,
funny.
What are the chances? It's so funny when that happens. I think for me, it was potentially managing the hotel in Mallorca. That to me,
that
really
was a very challenging season for you.
Yeah.
I
think that was the one that made me go, you know what, this is like, it's hard, but this is the job that I love doing because it was hard. Like I had all those entertainers, I had all that space I had to manage. And then the hotel manager was, well, let's just say he had his moments. So he wasn't always the easiest to work with.
Let's just say he had some true Spanish temperament inside of him.
He really did. Yeah, like he could be delightful. The first day I met him, I was like, oh my goodness, you're one of the nicest managers I've ever met. You're lovely, really, really nice. And literally within a month, I was like, what did I do? Like, what happened? So yeah, it was really interesting to see how you cope managing so many people and managing so much space, and with the constant pressure of, oh, your scores need to go up, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Yeah,
and you
because
just felt like
people
you were
can rate you, right? When they go home after their holiday, they get like an email in their inbox, and they get to fill out a questionnaire if they want to, of course, in which they can rate the entertainment, daytime, evening, overall entertainment. Yeah, so you do have this pressure, but you don't want to give people on holiday the feeling that they will be rating you afterwards, of course, because it kind of takes away the magic from their holiday experience.
Yeah, but you felt like you were talking about it all the time, or at least I did. I don't know about you, but because you were trying to make sure that they knew that it was a thing, because sometimes they would get back home and be like, oh, I've got this thing, what do I do with it? And you want them to know, but you don't want to be like pushing it down their throats. Like, you must put good scores in. Like, it, as you said, it ruins what you've done for them because you've put so much effort in the first place. So yeah, that was
Yeah,
a
I've always thought this is
challenging.
kind of a strange aspect of the job, pushing people. Well, not really pushing, but asking people to fill out their questionnaire about it, because and these are my personal thoughts. It does kind of take away the how genuine you are as an entertainer. I feel for the entertainer
Oh
I
yeah.
was. So to be honest, I never really pushed them as much. I did play like some jingles before or after a show, mentioning to people that there will be a questionnaire sent out, and if they want to rate us, they can do this. But to talk about it with the guest face to face, I only really brought it up once they brought up something along the lines of how can we let someone know that you're doing a good job, or if they said they wanted to let's say write a comment on TripAdvisor or something like this, then I would recommend them filling out the CSQs, as they were called, the questionnaire. But
Yeah.
I've never been a big fan of it, to be honest.
I didn't like it either. Like that's one that I can compare back to my first season. So when I was with that small agency in Cyprus, they pushed it a lot. To the point that we had like catchphrases that we had to say at the end of every single evening. So because we had arrivals every day. So you really, really pushed it. So when I came over to TUI, I knew I didn't want to do that anymore, because I hadn't enjoyed being like, you must fill it in, you have to do this, blah, blah. Like, you don't want to be told that while you're on holiday. That's not what you want to do. So when I came over, I knew that it had to be something that we focused on, and it had to be mentioned, but I didn't want to be pushing it down people's throats as much as I felt like I had before.
But I mean, from a company standpoint, it does make sense, because you do want to improve the quality of your services to your guests. So it's not like we don't understand the value of people filling out these forms. It's just very strange to be the one and creating the service for the guests and asking them to fill it out. I feel like the time span between people experiencing their holiday and being back at home, maybe they've done their first day at work, getting an email, and like maybe if they would fill this out after one of the shows, they have to rate your shows, something along these lines, just as an example, would give maybe a more genuine impression of what the actual experience was.
Like I feel like when we did that test season in Lanzarote last winter,
when you were in Lanzarote, you were trialing some new ideas over the winter that would be implemented for the summer following up, right?
Yeah, and that was a really good eye-opening experience, because you were needing a lot more direct feedback to work out what we were doing was working for the guests. And we got those forms that we handed out before the evening entertainment, and then got them to fill in as the evening entertainment went on, and then collected all of them at the end. And once we had all of those, we had direct feedback for the first time, I think, in the whole time I've been doing this job. You got so many people's opinions on so many bits of paper. And it wasn't just, that small handful of guests that just happened to have been at every single activity and you've got quite close with.
Yeah.
It was a whole room full of people. So
let's say 80% fill it out.
Yeah, and then you had a few more opinions. It wasn't just everyone going, it was amazing. You had some people going, oh, well, the sound was a bit funny here, or the lighting could have been better there. And then you were like, okay, that's great. Constructive criticism's always welcome, I think,
that's
because
something you
then
can work with.
What you need to work on. Exactly. I think constructive criticism is always a good thing to get. I would much rather that a guest gave me feedback than just walked off and left. Whether the feedback was good or bad, as long as they were nice about how they said it, you need it, because then you know that you're doing either your job correctly, or you know that you can improve on something, and that's better than just not hearing anything, which I feel like the CSQs sometimes came through a bit like that, because they'd be like, oh, well, 20 of your guests filled it in this month. You're like,
Yeah,
well, I
that's
have
very
more than
hard.
20 guests. So
It's it does sometimes give like a skewed view of what actually was happening, but you do learn from it, and
oh, yeah.
you learn to actually I think my last 1-2 seasons I learned to not bring up the CSQs myself, but like plant seeds in the conversation in which they would bring up TripAdvisor or something like this along the conversation, so I could slide in the CSQs. It's you do learn to work around it, but I think as an entertainer, especially as a team leader, it would help if you would have different ways of getting feedback from the guests. Because to be honest, when I was an entertainer, I didn't really I don't want to say care too much about the CSQs, because you still want to give a good experience to the guests and want to make them feel happy, but you're not really actively thinking about how they're going to rate you. You're more present in the moment and more focused on what you're doing right now, instead of the global picture of what is unfolding in the hotel. How about
definitely.
you? When you're working as an entertainer and then became a team leader, are there things you started doing differently, or did your focus shift in a way?
I feel like as soon as you become a team leader, you're actually a lot more aware of what goes into doing the job. I think I went in very blissfully unaware. Like, I'd worked hard my previous seasons, but I didn't know how much extra legwork you had to do. So when I had my own entertainers talking to me about being a team leader, I was like, all the fun stuff you do around the pool, you get to do that plus XYZ. And then sometimes that made them go, oh, like, you want your team to you want them to think that it's seamless. You don't want them to see you, like, imagine a swan. Like, a swan looks all graceful on the top of the water. Meanwhile, its legs are going absolutely crazy underneath. I think that's what being a team leader is like. You need to make it look seamless, but you're actually going, underneath the whole time. So I do think that my opinion on the job completely changed as soon as I started, because as an entertainer, as you said, you've got people screaming CSQs at you from the management side, and you're like, I just want to have fun. Like, let me go and play my games. Let me go and dance. Like, I just want to do the fun stuff. But as soon as you've got that little bit extra, like, control and I'm going to say power, but that's not the word I mean. Like,
no. Influence. Let's say influence.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, influence on your team and on what's going on. You need to balance between the fun stuff and the not so fun stuff. And it's choosing what you say to your team and what you don't say to your team, and how you handle that.
Yeah, and especially how you phrase everything.
Oh, yes, because they will take things very differently. And I've learned this as a British person coming into an international concept with international entertainers. Not every international entertainer gets the British sense of humour the way that you think they will. So sometimes you can be being really dry and really sarcastic, and they take that personally. And then you're like, no, that's not, a bit offended, and you don't want to hurt their feelings. So you really need to think about how you're talking to everybody. And like, that was a big learning curve for me, I think, because I came in.
You become very aware of how you phrase yourself and how you express yourself.
Definitely.
Are there any? I don't want to like put people in a box, but what? How do I put this? Are there any nationalities you feel like you were having more difficulties with expressing yourself over a different nationality? Not that I'm saying that everyone from this nationality is being put in the same box, but things like language, which is the same for a nationality, does have a big influence on how you take things and how you read people.
Yeah, of course. I'm trying to, because I feel like I've been really lucky, and I've had some very strong people on my teams. So if ever there's not so much. I don't know if it was necessarily where they were coming from. It might have just been personality issues that I would have with certain people, or they would have with me, vice versa. We had one very unusual one, which I feel like I can say because it doesn't happen so often within Suneo anyway, where we had a boy on my team from Brazil who had been working in a Magic Life hotel that had been connected to a Suneo in Tunisia way back at the start of Suneo. And our entertainer from Belgium had sort of got to know this guy while that she'd been working there and had sort of encouraged him to come and work for Suneo. But then there was some confusion with paperwork, so they couldn't end up working together as friends. So he ended up with me and she ended up elsewhere. And I think we ended the season on a mutual, we agree to disagree on a lot of things. Like we got on 50% of the time, but the other 50% of the time, because I've never met anyone from Brazil before. And I think they must have a very different mentality from British people.
Oh, yeah, I think they're not as reserved. They're very clear in everything they say, very outgoing, very... their expressions are quite hard in either way. If they're talking about something positive, they will be extremely positive and very, very clear on how positive everything is. But if you go the different direction and things are not so good, they're very clear in expressing that they're not happy with the situation.
Yeah, and that hurts. That was my first season as a team leader, and I found that really difficult to manage. How I was then having to manage that, because I think that was
because you took it
my
personally.
First season. Yeah, I did take it personally, and the more seasons you do, the more you learn not to take what your team says too personally in work, because they say things, and then a few hours later they come back to you and go, "I didn't mean that." I'm like, "Oh, I know. Don't worry, I know now." But yeah, he had quite a temper on him, I shall say, and he had a bit of a rough summer, to be fair. He injured himself quite a few times. He couldn't do the job the way he wanted to do the job, and it didn't fall nicely. So I think there was a few issues that led to him getting a little bit rough around the edges and a little bit angry about stuff that he probably wouldn't have in a normal situation. And I think the other one that I found quite interesting, which didn't really involve me, and I'm going to be careful how I say this because you're Belgian, but the year that I worked with a Dutch person, I'm going for it. The year I worked with a Dutch person and a Belgian person, I could see that they could like ruffle each other's feathers a little bit, and I don't know if that is like a Dutch thing and a Belgian thing, or again that could have just been a personality thing. But I feel Dutch people can be very direct, and Belgian people aren't always like that. You can sometimes be a bit more, I'll go around the point a little.
I like to think of Belgian people as very grey. They're not very extreme. They're very okay with everything.
Yeah, they're just quite chill. Whereas Dutch people can be a bit like, rah, sometimes. So that was quite funny, because they would like and they would be speaking away in like Flemish and Dutch to each other. And I'd be like, I don't know what you're saying, but I can see that you're getting annoyed at each other.
I can read your body language.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'd had any nationality that I wouldn't work with again, though, because I don't want to be that person that's like ignorant to other cultures, or like ignorant towards how other nationalities do things. Like, as a British person, we're seen as quite stubborn and not learning foreign languages and not wanting to know about other people's cultures, and I find that a little bit like that grates on me a bit, because I love languages. I studied languages at school and I just didn't pursue them properly, and I wish I had. And now that I've had this chance to travel and work with people from all over the world and all these amazing places, and like it gives you a taste for something that you really wish we had more of here, if that makes sense.
No, I never really spoke about someone coming from the UK with this. It's very interesting because it does make sense. I mean, in the end of the day, English is an international language, and most of our generation is quite fluent speaking English globally.
Yeah.
So if you could pick a language, that you could speak fluently tomorrow morning, you wake up and somehow magically you can speak this language, which one would you pick?
Spanish, I think.
Spanish?
I've never really touched on Spanish. I studied Italian and German at school, and I loved both of those, but I feel Spanish would be more useful because more places have Spanish influence, Spanish language. So I think that would be probably the one I would go for. If I could just click my fingers and be able to do it, that would be so cool. I'd speak all of them.
Well,
give me all the languages.
Let me know tomorrow morning if you're fluent in your Spanish or not.
Oh, I will.
No, something.
I can't make any promises.
Something completely different, actually, I wanted to talk about with you is, as you have been working for Suneo since 2015 till 2019, maybe onwards, we'll see how things unfold. What are the things that you've seen most evolve in the not just the concept, but in the entertainment industry in general over the past few years? Because a lot has changed.
A lot has changed, yeah. I think the amount of focus that's put on it, actually. Like when I was a child, I remember going on holiday and I would get involved with the entertainment team, but it was never, the be all and end all of my holiday. Whereas now, I think a lot more people go away and expect that to be there and to be of a good standard. Yeah. And when I started back in 2015, we were obviously a really small part of TUI, and they were still budgeting us and giving us equipment. And my first season, we didn't have much in our hotel. We were really winging it. We were playing like Skittles with like 1.5 liter sized water bottles and like a football. Like that was an activity that we had to do because we didn't have equipment. Like our evening entertainment space wasn't even like a stage. They split the bar in half and we got a piece of floor with two lights, one on either side, one red one green one, a projector. The wall was at a funny angle. Our backstage, you had to slip between the wall and the window. It was about the same width as my shoulders. Like it was a different thing. And then you would, like, if I fast forward to 2019, say the winter season in Lanzarote, when we were developing all this new content, it was amazing how much more technology we were putting into it, how much more just thought process and the equipment and what we had more available to us was incredible. The difference, like it's 4 years difference, yet
it's amazing what you can build in a few years, right? Because you've taken part in it yourself, right?
Yeah. Like I've been more or less from the ground up, really, and I've seen all the changes. And fortunately for me, the company were really, really nice to me and let me see it from like an inside perspective as well. I wasn't just seeing it as like a team leader that was seeing the changes. They were asking me to help with the changes, so I was seeing the development of it, and it was incredible what a few experienced team leaders and a couple of managers could put together in a room over a couple of hours. And you'd see it on a piece of paper and go, oh, we're never going to make that happen. Like, it's just not going to happen. And then 2 months later, it's up on stage and you're doing it. And you're like, wow, like we did this. Like, this is so cool. And that was really, really rewarding. Like, so good. And it was amazing to pass that on to the new team leaders and the new entertainers and show them what the concept is capable of. Because way back when at the start, it was literally you were having to use your brain so much just to fill the time that you had.
You had to improvise on everything.
Yes. And that was, even if things went wrong, you were like, oh, well, I still need to do something. Like, I've got pictures of some of the activities I did in Corfu, and they make me laugh so much because I'm like, we provided that as entertainment and people thought that was fun. Like,
and people actually
what were we
joined
doing?
in.
Yeah, it makes me laugh so much, like what we were doing then and looking at what they have now, they're so lucky, so lucky that it's more or less just handed to them on a plate, and they can just do with that.
But,
like, you know, you've got 20 choices, you do what you want.
But maybe it does take away the creativity part of the job, because to be honest, this is something I always really enjoyed working for Suneo, that you could kind of build and forge your own thing.
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, you do get company guidelines, and you need to stay within certain restrictions, but as long as you moved within these restrictions, you were kind of free to go, and if your scores were good, everyone was happy. Yes. And maybe it's a shame to lose this. I mean, of course, the content we are pushing out right now is way more polished and way of a way higher quality. But as a person, I kind of enjoyed struggling and pulling these different ropes, seeing what is going to happen, and it's nice to, of course, see them evolve into true concept, into a true concept. Let's call it a true concept.
Yeah, because it was a fun concept at the start, but now it's definitely like it's a thing that people go to. They go to Suneo clubs because they know what Suneo Club is now. I think at the start they just went, oh, you know, it's got a sunshine on the logo. That looks nice. We'll do that one. But now it's like, oh, we've heard about Suneo Club. Like, Suneo Club has the entertainers. It has this, that, and the next thing. Like, it's ticking more boxes now, which I think is really, really good. Definitely, yeah. But I do tend to agree. Like the creative side, I don't think it was entirely lost in the update.
No, definitely
or
not.
The updates. Definitely not entirely lost, because you still had a fair bit of freedom with, say, like the singers in the evening productions and their cabaret sets, and the daytime team. You were free depending on what equipment you had. So no two hotels are going to be the same, which was great. But I do think you had a lot more of it way back when like you had so much less to deal with. Like I had a beach hut full of things, and when I say a beach hut, I mean like a tiny one, and we had hardly anything, and you were just winging it, and like it was hilarious, so funny. And you look at that, and then look at what you provide now with, like, you know, 2 activities an hour and like 5 hours of evening entertainment. I'm like, oh, we couldn't have done that back then. Like, absolutely no way.
Oh, hell no. It's a nice one to link actually to the winging it to the team part. I really remember when you had like almost no equipment, and you had to wing it, and you just pretended this has been an activity for like many years, and this is what we do in entertainment. But you just made up the game in your room maybe 30 minutes before the activity.
Exactly. Or it was like a rainy day activity, and you couldn't bring the outdoor stuff inside. Like, I remember rainy days, even last summer, because our indoor facilities were so small in our hotel. Yeah. I was speaking to my daytime team, and I was like, oh yeah, you can play paper bowls. Like, paper bowls? Is that like in the manual? I was like, oh yeah, the paper bowls.
It's in my manual.
It's in my manual, definitely. It's like French bowls, but with bits of paper. It's great. They were looking at me like I was crazy. I'm going, this is what we do here. Like, I think I actually have like a pile of my improvised games in a folder currently underneath my desk. With like, it's been my Bible that I've put together over all my seasons working abroad, and it's got all of the random playhouse activities I had to make up, and all of my rainy day activities, and all my pool activities.
And you've actually bundled all of them?
I've kept all. I can get it if you'd like to see it. It's a folder.
I think you should put it in writing, type it, and sell it. Why not?
Yeah, that could be like the spin-off of Suneo Club.
That would be so funny. I remember once I came up with a game. I called it the Ice Cube Challenge, because I don't remember, something went wrong and an activity couldn't go through, but all the guests were already there, and they were expecting a game. So I went to the bar, grabbed a bucket of ice cubes, gave everyone an ice cube, and they had to melt it as quickly as possible. but they had to melt it, and they could only use their body. They could not put it in their mouth, because then they could swallow the ice and say it was gone. And they just had to rub it and see whoever was the fastest one to melt their ice cube. And that's a game. Actually, I kept on playing it for like the remaining seasons I did, because people actually enjoyed it. So yeah, why not?
It worked. I'm pretty sure I have that in my little bundle of paper, actually. I feel like that must have come up at a training session and I went, I'll just take that, put that in my book. That's what you do though, isn't it? Like as a team leader, you are looking for ideas all the time. So when you see something on the television or from another team leader, you're like, oh, that's great. If I can take that, I'll take that. That's brilliant. Like game show ideas was always one that I felt like you were having to reinvent all the time. And we've got
even
an amazing
depending
television.
on your guest structure, which nationalities you had to adapt your game shows.
Exactly.
Can be the infrastructure of the actual stage. There were so many different influences which made you tweak the game shows.
Yeah, you had to come up with like things that were very international friendly, because you couldn't do like too much talking. What I found is I speak a lot, especially when I'm explaining activities. I get so carried away and I just keep talking. And eventually I'm like, I've said all the important points, but not succinctly enough that they're going to know what they have to do. So you need to make it very like, you need to get the pencil from here to here. And that's it. Like, keep it very, very simple. But we have an amazing television show in the UK called Taskmaster. And
I haven't heard about it.
It's really good. I recommend you look it up. They're starting a new series this week, actually.
I'll have a look at it.
Yeah, they bring in 4 or 5 sort of comedians, celebrities, and they have like a whole series of them having to complete challenges, and it's weird, obscure, bizarre stuff that would work so well in a hotel concept. It's really visual. They're having to use their brains, and so many of those, I was like, I wish I'd had that as a fallback point when I was working, because this is genius. Like some of those games are as simple as, like, I'm going to turn the lights out and you've got 30 seconds to draw your teammates.
Oh,
the person that does it the best gets a point. And it's just simple little things. Yeah, like simple things like that you're like, oh my goodness, like why did I not think of that? Like it's so basic. Or, I have a watermelon. You need to get the watermelon the furthest that you can, but you're not allowed to use your hands, but you have like props, like a broom or a shuffleboard stick or something, and you have 20, like I'm going to time you to get it from A to B, or you've got 30 seconds to get it as far as you can. It's
they're
stupid
really good
stuff,
games.
which is really, really visual, and it's so good that they now have stuff like that they can look and use, because as I said, game shows are the ones that I always felt like we need to reinvent this. We need to come up with something that the guests are going to understand and see and just get.
That's really nice. Actually, we're slowly approaching the end of our episode, but I do have a few more questions I would like to ask you. And then the first one is actually, do you have any advice maybe to people interested starting working in the entertainment sector? What advice would you give to them?
Just go for it. Honestly, don't be scared. Like, I have said this to so many guests that have come up to me and been like, oh, I really want to be an entertainer. How do you become an entertainer? And I'm like, if you've got a good personality, you're fine. Like, my math skills are shocking. I could never add up the numbers in darts, but that didn't stop me.
But they help
you just
you
make
anyways.
a joke about it. Yeah, exactly. You just say at the start, I can't add, I'm a dancer, I count to 8. You can do the maths for me. And they would. And like, it's all about personality. It's all about being confident. Never compare yourself to anybody else, because every entertainer is going to do the job a little bit differently, and everyone's going to have a little bit of personality or a little bit of flair that some guests are going to like, but not all guests are going to like you. Like, it just doesn't happen like that. So I would say just go for it, be yourself, and don't let bad comments get you down too much. I know it's not fun, but you can't let them wear on you. Have your 5 minutes and then be like, well, they don't like me. but I've got 20 other guests that do.
Exactly.
So I'm going to focus on them instead.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you have anything that you would say?
What would I say? I think I would say, you just turned my question on me there, Jillian.
I did.
I would say go for it, but don't expect anything. That's what I would say. Lower your expectations, because when you start your first season, you have no idea what you are getting yourself into, and the fewer expectations you put on it, the more surprised you will be, and then you give yourself the room to paint the picture whilst the season is going, instead of having this predetermined picture of where you want the season to go to. You kind of let the season paint itself, and I think the artwork that you will be creating, as in the picture you are painting, will be much more beautiful if you just go with it and see where it takes you. That's what I would say.
Definitely. So beautiful, Dario.
Oh, thank you, Jillian.
Yeah. Oh, no, I totally agree. Like, I think if you go in with, because I feel like sometimes entertainers do go in with a bit of an expectation. Some of them don't realize how hard it actually is. It's not, I just go away for 6 months and play some games and do some dancing, and then the rest of the time I can go out and party or sit at the beach or do whatever. Like, there is a lot of background stuff that your team leader will pass on to you. Like, the team leader doesn't do everything on their own. They ask their team to help, and they ask their team to support them because they have got so much on their shoulders. So I do think it is important to remind people that are looking into it that it's great fun and it is what you make of it, but you need to be prepared to work for that too.
Yeah.
Because if you come in with a lazy mindset, your team leader's not going to be your friend.
That's very true. Okay, then really, Jillian, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you joining me for the third episode already of Ciao Ciao Bye Bye. Tell the listeners what to expect from you and where they can find you on social media.
Right. Okay. Well, I am currently waiting to find out what the next jump in my life is. However, I'm currently teaching Zumba classes from my house. So if anybody wants to get involved in some fitness from home, you can find me on Jillian Zumba Fitness on Instagram and Jillian Zumba Fitness on Facebook, or you can find me on Jillian Leckie on both of those platforms as well, if you want to just see what I'm up to, basically. But thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
We'll put all the links in the description and in the show notes. If people want to go check you out or follow one of your Zumba classes, then they can just click on the links in the description. So it's easy for them to find.
Come dance with me on the virtual dance floor.
Then finally, Jillian, who would you like to hear me joining for an episode of Ciao Ciao Bye Bye? If you can pick one.
Oh, there's so many. So many amazing people. I think I'm going to say my fabulous friend, Indy Dembor. She was my first Suneo Club team leader. And she's an OG. She's an original. So I bet she's got even more.
She started with Suneo, and is she still continuing? I'm not even sure if she's doing another one.
I think she left. I think she's gone now, yeah.
Maybe we'll have
she
to
was
find
on the
out.
waiting list. Yeah, go do some digging. But yeah, I feel like she's probably got a lot of stories.
Yeah, I can imagine, because she's literally done every season from the first till the very last up to right now.
Yeah, and she's found a lot of team leaders along the way as well. So she's a good wee recruiter for the team leader bunch.
Then, really, Jillian, thank you so much. And I think there's only one more thing to say. I think you know what it is we always say.
I do.
And as always,
yes.
Ciao ciao. Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao. Bye bye.
I hope you enjoyed listening to the third episode. I would like to thank our guest Jillian for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or whatever platform you use. I'd be grateful if you could leave us a review and share it. If you have any thoughts on today's episode or topics you would like me to further touch on, email me at info@darislow.com. Thanks again, see you next week, and as always, ciao ciao, bye bye.